Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to look into the disgrace that was Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, you have probably heard about the Financier who holidayed with fellow sex offenders Kevin Spacey, hosted Prince Andrew on his private jets, and partied with the likes of Donald Trump and the great big Harvey of Harvey Weinstein. I guess you've painted a pretty detailed picture now, right? Yes, well, his story goes much deeper than hanging out with the seemingly elite class, as they would love to hear themselves called. He even admitted to, quote-unquote, liking young girls, to a reporter. He then tried to save himself by adding, maybe I should say, young women. Well, you've revealed yourself now, mister. This isn't the usual story of a poor old rich man stuck in his mansion. You may think that this is all a recent shebang that has been in the news since his suspicious death in a cell at a U.S. prison. But the horror started years before, and there are legal cases against him for abuse of a minor and prostitution of a minor from as early as 2005, in fact. It was the parents of a 14-year-old girl from Florida who called the police after finding out that she had been molested in his Palm Beach home. A police search later confirmed a much darker reality, that he had been doing the same to multiple other girls, and evidence was found throughout the house, including disturbing photos of his victims. You might be thinking, like me, how did he even become so wealthy in the first place? Well, he started out as a financier and acquired his wealth through a combination of successful investments, connections, and definitely a whole cohort of illicit activities. Epstein began his, let's call it an official career, as a teacher in New York City, but soon transitioned to the financial sector, working at Bear Stearns before starting his own financial management firm, J. Epstein & Co. I guess a modest teacher's salary would have been enough to buy himself out of several lawsuits and tight spots. His wealth and reputation grew as he started to manage money for wealthy clients and high-profile individuals. Epstein's connections to powerful people, including politicians and business leaders, definitely contributed as a factor in his financial success. Interestingly, it is difficult to find out the particulars and details of all his clients and who they were. This information has purposefully been kept very, very private. Maybe they all had something dark to hide too. It is most certainly a suspicious way to do business, keeping everything so tightly under wraps the way he did. Some of the more publicly known connections included figures such as former President Bill Clinton, and as I said earlier, Prince Andrew of the British royal family, among others. Lots of his known clients and contacts included hedge fund managers, private equity executives, and private financiers. And let's not forget to mention that he also had connections to infamously inappropriate and lychee film director Woody Allen, as well as Harvey Weinstein. A pretty guilty set of friends at his tea parties, I reckon. A right slimy bunch. But let's be honest, it is pretty clear that most of his money was acquired from his scores of illicit activities. We all know that you can earn 10 times more money when it isn't being taxed, controlled, or by abiding by any laws of morality and justice in any way, shape, or form. He was convicted of sex offenses in 2008 and was still facing new charges at the time of his death in 2019, at the age of 66. This is clearly a lifelong pursuit, and don't try to tell me otherwise. Epstein's alleged activities included sex trafficking, sexual abuse, and involvement in a prostitution ring. His most classic go-to trap would be to lure girls from disadvantaged backgrounds, such as girls without strong family settings or parents, or those more desperate to make money as they came from less comfortable backgrounds. His status and showy cash flashing probably did most of the work for him. How hard is it to attract a vulnerable young girl if you can buy them anything they want or need? Scientists say your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until the ripe age of 25, and these girls were way under that. That is not to say that they brought it on themselves, the exact opposite. Knowing that these girls are at a disadvantage is the exact reason he targeted them. This gave him not only the advantage of age, experience, contacts, and money. He was able to persuade and persist by using their lack of life experience against them. What does it tell you that this sex offender managed to get the Queen of England's son, Prince Andrew, into his house? That is no normal relationship. Everyday people do not just casually bring over princes to their pool houses. Of course, now Prince Andrew refuses to admit that he had anything to do with what Epstein was involved in, and that he had no idea what was going on in the very house he stayed at in New York whilst visiting him. The prince simply thinks he, quote-unquote, let the side down with his behavior. You let more than the side down, Andrew. More like, revealed that you are completely unworthy of representing Britain as part of the royal family. Barf. Well, Virginia Jewifer has a polar opposite version of the events that went down. And I think I'll side with the woman who has nothing to gain by lying, unlike someone else in the very public eye. Jewifer alleged that at the age of 17, in the year 2000, she was made to have sex with Prince Andrew at one of Epstein's properties. There are even photos of the two together, Prince Andrew and Jewifer, in London. Proof. Obviously, the prince has absolutely no recollection of this photo being taken. Maybe because all your blood was somewhere other than your brain, sir. Epstein even had previous jail time, 18 months of it to be exact, in 2008. Funnily enough, this rich and wealthy hedge fund manager managed to wrangle himself a deal with prosecutors to be able to leave prison every single day except Sundays, for a full 12 hours at a time. Is that even a prison sentence? Leaving from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. while enjoying lattes? I think not. I'd love to see an average Joe try to get out of being in prison to go to, as Epstein apparently put it, his office, for 12 hours a day. That's one heck of a long, fake work day, I say. And that's only the beginning of this chilling story. Maxwell, his partner, has also recently been on trial and was convicted for working with Epstein to lure underage girls and sexually abuse them in their penthouse suites. Then there's the suspicious apparent suicide death of Epstein himself in his jail cell while he waited without the chance of parole. Interestingly, the two cameras in front of his cell were disabled just at the right time. How coincidental, I hear you say. Do you want to know more about this storm in a teacup sex ring of money, influence, power, and abuse? Go to the link in the description to find out all you can about Jeffrey Epstein and his squadron of sex abusers. And I will catch you next time after you've liked, followed, and subscribed to this channel, of course. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below. After all, sharing is caring.